Good afternoon, welcome to the studio. Today with Kelly. Hello Kelly.
Hi.
And welcome back again because it's been a couple of weeks, isn't it?
Yeah, it has.
And me, Liz. How have you been, Kelly?
I've been great, thank you. Been great.
Yeah, that's good. It's changing times lately, you know, we're having to contend with a lot of things in the news that is a bit worrying, you know, COVID and monkeypox, and then there's a lot of political issues and everything's changing all of the time. We don't know what's coming next. How do you cope with things like that?
Wow, I think you have to, for me personally, I just take one day at a time, one piece of information at a time, and a lot of the time I do a bit of research as well. So I get a bit more information about what's going on and sort of to keep myself at ease. But
yeah. So not overload it.
Yeah.
You know, I think I've had to do this myself before we started on the live stream today. We were talking about social media, weren't we?
yeah.
And actually, you can lose a lot of time when you're scrolling through, you know, and yeah, exactly. And I think it's with the news, it's not always positive, is it? There's a lot of negativity.
Yeah.
And whilst we all want to know what's going on in the world, sometimes we need to limit it for our own, you know, mental health, I think, just so that we can be a little bit more positive.
Yeah.
But one thing I think that is potentially a little bit unsettling is that concept of not knowing really what's coming tomorrow. And it's something that all of us have got to learn to live with because we can't foresee the future, obviously. So today we're going to be talking about, is a job for life a thing of the past? So what do you think, Kelly?
I started working when I was 16. And back then, when I started working, it was like in the late 90s. It was the era when they had a lot of temporary agencies, like Adecco and Manpower. And so for me, when I got into the workforce, it was through certain agencies. So it was always kind of temporary positions and constantly changing roles.
The 0-hour contracts then, didn't they?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Like no guarantee of work at all.
No, there was no actual security. So you had to really be sharp and always looking out or being available for whatever position that came.
So do you think you're kind of used to the idea that not necessarily it is a job for life, that a job may be limited and you may be moving on?
Yeah, I think I agree, but I would prefer if the mindset of having a job for life was installed when we were younger, because then it will allow us to create a sense of consistency and security and, you know what I mean, continuity, whereas when you start working and it's kind of temporary and you kind of create that sharp, you know, changing mindset where, you know, so I do think a job for life is, it will definitely be a good way forward.
Yeah, so some people, we were talking about, do you work for life or live to work? And that's kind of like a tongue twister, I think. It's
work for life, work to live, or live to work.
Yeah, you have to kind of think about this.
Yeah.
But basically, to work to live would be, you don't necessarily get the job that you would like, but you need to do that job in order to pay your bills. So it's kind of you work to survive. And I suppose a lot of people who lose their job suddenly, COVID, a lot of people may have lost their jobs because of that, all the changes that came in through that. They would have needed to just find any job.
Yeah.
And the opposite of that, to live to work, is the idea that a person doesn't have an end point. So where we might, I don't know what your retirement age is, but I think mine's probably creeping up towards 70, I'm sure.
Yeah, it gets the goalposts changing, doesn't it?
I'm sure I won't be retiring until I'm 75.
Yeah, there you go. By the time it comes up, you know, is it even worth it? But because of that, a lot of people are not thinking about they're not thinking about their retirement. They're actually thinking, you know, just about the work that they're doing now and what work they want to be doing in the future. And some people, when retirement actually comes up, they get very fidgety.
Yeah, because it's a switch, isn't it? Going from, especially if you work from 9 to 5 and you were somewhere every day of the week, you know, you had the weekend, then now you've got every day of the week and the weekend, so it's like you've got to readjust yourself in it. So.
Yeah, and then some people do actually actively just go back to work because, you know, they can't cope with the you know, not being able to fill the time. So that's that, I think, unpacked, isn't it? Yeah. But back to the concept of, is there a job for life? It makes me think of somebody I know who had a job in the same firm for over 35 years, and he got to his 60s, and I'm sure he thought, this is it, you know, I'm going to be working in this place until I retire. But then suddenly the firm went bust. It went into administration, was made redundant rather.
Before he retired?
Yeah, so, you know, 5-6 years to go. After working there for all that time, now needed to go back into the job market and find something else.
That must be terrifying.
Yeah. So you've got this kind of like switch from maybe this person who thought that there was a job for life, but actually the times have now changed, and with all these big companies going bust, you know, like I can think of Woolworths, you know, do you remember Woolworths? More recently Debenhams. I'm sure we can think of lots.
Lots of companies that.
Yeah. And unfortunately the effect of that is that people are losing their jobs and then having to find another one. And if you're a younger generation, you know, I think like you said, you're already used to that. That's what you expect, that a job isn't for life, that you will be looking for work, you know, periodically.
Yeah, because I feel like, especially in the job market today, you're told to always make sure your CV is updated and always be ready to go for another job, basically, because of the, you know, the narrative, the mindset around it. And when you think about it, I would really have liked to have that one job for life, and I think it makes you think differently than having to jump from, you know, working for an agency, for example.
Yeah,
you know.
It's kind of unsettling, I think, you know, to think of it that way. Although it is the reality.
It's the reality, the job market.
And like you say, we're all being advised now to keep our CVs up to date. It doesn't hurt, I think, every now and then just to have a little look and update your skill set and the experience that you've gained. Even if it's just so that you are spending time thinking how far you've progressed.
Exactly.
You know, you're not necessarily looking at, you know, the potential that your job's coming to an end.
I mean, who thinks that way? I mean, if you're going to get into a permanent position, you're not thinking about the end.
Well, I hope
job,
not.
You know?
I hope not.
And actually, if anything, you're thinking about moving on up within the company. I mean, if you're going to be there for life, you're not going to own it at the end of by the time you retire. I mean, you could, but moving on up to a position where, you know, I know some people, they're able to buy shares in the companies when they've been there for a long time. So that would be good, you know, to have those kind of perks. And
so it's kind of like this conflict then, isn't it? So on the one hand, we live in a world where we potentially need to keep looking for work. But at the same time, in the job that we've got, we need to fully commit ourselves and not be thinking about the end. So how can we fit those two together? That's quite difficult, isn't it? I think that's what makes it very unsettling.
Yeah, and I feel like there are a lot of these jobs that are quite permanent. They will offer some type of career. Is it CPD? What's it? Continuous progress. Do you know what
Personal development.
Personal development, continuous personal development. You know, and I think that could be the middle ground where you're in your position, but then you're constantly developing. You're not just doing that job over and over. You're kind of getting qualifications and so forth. You know.
Yeah, and we're supposed to be lifetime learners now.
We are.
We're lifetime
We
learners.
are.
So even if we're not specifically going back to university or back to school, we tend to go on courses whilst we're in work.
In work, exactly, and that's another market as well, where that's something that's really become a bit more apparent, where you're not just going to be on one level, you keep working, and then by doing that, it might open up opportunities for another job because you've gained more qualifications than you have had when you first started.
Yeah.
Basically, so.
But I think realistically, you know, we live day to day. We can't foresee the future. We can put in place some things and try to prepare ourselves. But when things happen, we just have to deal with them.
Yeah.
But I think, like you said, having a look at your CV every now and then doesn't necessarily mean anything.
It doesn't mean you're leaving your job, but it just kind of just reminds you of where you've come, what you've accomplished, and possibly give you an idea of what you would like to accomplish in the future. That's
it. And I think if it did happen, if you are looking for work or struggling, it really does help to talk to other people. There's so much stigma around job seeking, and I don't know why, because there's so many people needing help.
I think that there's more companies now that offer that kind of support to help you get into work, and if not just within CVs, but even getting your mind, because there's a lot of people that haven't really worked for, like, especially with the COVID and whatever that's been happening over the last 2 years. You lose your train of thought, you lose your mojo, your work mojo, where getting up and whatever. So people need to get reignited. You know what I mean? There's a lot of companies that are doing that.
But that's kind of, I think, a skill set on its own is your level of employability and your way of expressing that on your CV, in an interview. It's so daunting sometimes.
It is actually. Getting a job is scary because you don't know if you're going to get it. But the process, doing your CV, sending it in, then getting an interview, because sometimes you send your CV, you don't even get a reply. So even getting an interview is a progress in itself. And then getting to the interview, and then it going well, it's progress in itself. And then getting the job, so it's like 4 different steps before you'll become employed.
And you may have to do that multiple times. And you know what, you reminded me just now about interviews. I'm going to share with you something really embarrassing. One interview that I went to for an insurance firm, I turned up on time, but they were running a bit late on their interviews, and so they kept me waiting at the bottom of a staircase. Whilst I'm waiting, I'm trying not to think too much about everything because it's stressful. And I'm just looking at my trousers, which were new, thinking, oh, they're a bit long, aren't they? I'll have to take them up, just trying to pass the time, not to think about, I'm thinking about anything else but what I'm about to do. About 10 minutes goes in, and a guy comes to the top of the staircase and says my name. And so I would go up about 2 stairs and then fall flat on my face.
Oh no.
Obviously the trousers were too long.
Yeah.
I didn't recover after that. By the time I got up there, I couldn't think of anything else but how embarrassing that was. I couldn't answer the questions, nothing.
Oh no.
Now, obviously that wasn't supposed to be for me, that job.
Yeah.
But maybe, it's one of those things you can laugh about now.
But the stress at the moment, you must have felt, the pressure.
Exactly, and it kind of like, sometimes it's not just in your head, you can get into such a state that actually you physically have the symptoms. So with me, I physically couldn't walk up the stairs.
And you know what it is? You actually applied for it, you got an interview, which means that they obviously feel you're qualified enough on paper for the job, and you're qualified to do the job. But then it's just getting the words out to prove to them that you're qualified during the interview that makes it.
Yeah. Do you know another thing that some people don't think about is actually an interview is a two-way street. So whilst you're being asked questions and you're answering them, you're evaluating, will I fit in here? Is this for me? Are the people that are interviewing me happy in the job they're doing? And then when they've finished their interview, it's a good opportunity then to start asking.
What can you do for me?
Exactly.
Or should I come work for you?
Exactly.
And do you know what it is? I don't have the guts to ask those questions. And they're asking me, have you got any questions? No, I've had a look at your website before I got here, so I got a lot of information on your website. But really, truly, in my heart, you're thinking, oh, I don't want to rock the boat, you know.
Yeah, so it can be a little bit daunting, can't it?
Mm.
But I think it would help if people thought themselves, you know, how valuable people really are, and unique as well. And I think if every now and then we think about how far we're coming in life, what we've learned and what we've achieved, it will help us to realise, you know, our potential and our value. So those, you know, I won't be tripping up the stairs anymore because I won't be waiting that long for an interview.
Or if it happens again, you'll know how to handle it better. Like, yeah, just get back up and, oh yeah, I meant to do that. Yeah, hi, my name is Liz. How are you?
Or that question they say, what are your strengths and weaknesses? Well, you know, my weakness is obviously I can't walk up the stairs.
Exactly. So don't let you do something.
Yeah. So I think really research has found a job for life is very rare, and it does kind of like, it's better for us to try and be prepared as much as possible, but not necessarily thinking about the end of our job, but just so that we are in touch with our strengths and our weaknesses, and we know how far we're coming, and also that we've got goals as well.
Definitely.
If you have any thoughts about you know, jobs for life or job seeking, or if you want to share any funny stories like mine, you know, I promise we will not laugh at all. Then just contact us, put them in the comments box, and we'd love to hear from you about that.
One thing I would quickly say,
Yeah.
I know I'm not on the camera, but if you are struggling or nervous with an interview, you know, you can get in contact with us, speak to your friends. I've got a friend that is currently looking for a new job and has got an interview coming up, and they've asked me for some support because I've worked in that field previously. So, you know, it's really good to communicate with people around you and get that support if you are really nervous about it. But no, you know, that's just one thing to add.
Yeah, definitely. And also, I don't think it's wrong if you need a break in between. You know, if you've been looking for a job for 3 months, you know, or even 3 weeks, and you're starting to get very stressed, take a little bit of time to collect yourself and then get straight back to it, you know, with the help from friends.
Of course.
And anybody that can help you. And there are other places, you know, the job centre, that's what they're there for. You know, again, a lot of stigma around the job centre, but it shouldn't be.
A lot of people feel a certain way about the job centre. Some of the staff, it's not the job centre, I think it's some of the staff that are they'll make it too easy. And then I think that there's some of the people that have been clients at the job centre that haven't been easy to work with. So I think it's kind of like a dog biting its own tail. So, but they are very helpful at the job centre, I've got to say.
There's obviously going to be issues, isn't there, no matter where you go. Citizens Advice Bureau as well, if you don't want a job centre. Or, you know, get in contact with us. I think later on this year we'll have life skills available.
Yeah.
But we will say more about that when it actually comes up. Joe, can you give us an update on Colin?
Yeah, so, go on, I'll quickly come on the camera. So Colin is almost finished with his cycle ride. I think today might be his last day, or he might have even finished already.
I think he finished.
But, you know, obviously I'm sure you've all been keeping up to date with that on our social media channels. Obviously really proud of Colin for doing that. You know, it must be so difficult cycling every single day without really getting that rest and recovery. So we're all very, very proud of him. Obviously raised quite a bit of money for St Stephen's. If you still do want to donate, please do. We'd love for people to still, you know, donate to that project at St Stephen's. But yeah, you know, please leave your comments. Again, if you're ever in, please congratulate Colin on what he's done, because it is a fantastic achievement what he has done. You know, I know I don't even think I could do it.
Ideal, I'm cycling up the road, I'm just like...
No, I mean, I don't think I could do it, and I'm supposed to be a fit and healthy 20-year-old.
Exactly.
And Colin, obviously, a bit older than me, but he's really done something special there, and obviously for a great cause as well, and guided by God throughout it. So.
There's a lot of training involved. And if you missed it, if you go back a couple of weeks, you'll actually see the interview with Colin, and he actually does tell you quite a bit about things like
what he had to go through and what it entailed, you know, preparing for that. But no, we all are very proud of him. I think he does need a bit of a break now, doesn't he? I think after that, you know, cycling for that long, I think he needs a bit of a rest.
Well deserved.
Well deserved rest. But he'll be back soon. So yeah, if you do see him, make sure to congratulate him. And also, you know, thank you to everybody who supported him throughout that. Obviously, Vi went along with him, as well as some other people who joined him throughout that journey. So do thank them as well, because they have been integral to that journey as well.
Yeah, it's incredible work and for an excellent cause for St Stephen's. So if you're interested in St Stephen's, then it's all on Facebook, isn't it?
Yeah, everything's on Facebook. We are putting some stuff on TikTok as well. But yeah, mainly on Facebook. You'll see them clips from Colin each day, which have been great to see, you know, where he's been getting to the cathedrals. We're getting to see a glimpse of each of them.
It's like we've been going through it with him. I don't know, just like every day. Yeah, it's been nice. And
I know from live streams we've all been cheering him on all the way, and I'm sure everybody at home has been doing the same as well. So it's you know, it's a great journey that he's gone on. But yeah, fantastic today. He's completed it all.
Well done, Colin. So tomorrow at St Sed's we've got the Bring Your Own Cafe. The church itself is open from 9 o'clock until about 1. Later on in the evening, at 213 is the worship service. You may or may not see Colin. It just depends on, you know, how he's feeling.
Yeah, I think he might be back on Saturday. I think he might be having a day to recover in a way. But yeah, possibly he might be there. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
not too sure.
Possibly. And we've got the service here at St Sed's at 3:30 on the Sunday. So if anybody wants to come to that, it's quite worthwhile coming along. It's quite nice here, to be honest. So it'd be nice to see you. Next week at the studio, I can tell you that we're going to be talking about pets. Yeah, so about pets, and also if you have any funny pet stories, you know, or you know, things that your pet has done, maybe it can do some amazing tricks, or you know, it's got great characteristics, then comment or email us and we'll share them next week, and then we'll elaborate a little bit more about pets. Okay, so I think that's everything, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it.
So thank you, Kelly.
Thank you for having me.
And Joe.
Thank you.
And we'll see you all next time. Goodbye.